All right. So public land turkey hunting has started in Alabama. You went out to lower Alabama to do some turkey hunting. So was it your first day yesterday? Was it the first day of season or was it the second
So
day of season?
opening day was the 1st, April 1st, and that
Okay.
was Wednesday.
Okay. So you didn't
So
go Wednesday or you did?
I did go.
Okay. So tell
That's
us about.
all kind of part of the story. Yeah.
Okay. So start us there.
Well, I'll go back a little further.
Okay.
So this area is you have to go through some private land to get to it. It's kind of a secluded section of public. That's right. There's some water that's on the backside, so you can't come in from the other way. There's like one way in, but you got to go through some private land, and they've got some no trespassing signs, all the works to keep people out. But talk to the biologist; it's 100% legal to go right through the gate and all, and go back there. So
So
there's
there's like an
no.
easement basically.
Hmm.
Okay. Cool.
And so, uh, yeah, once I learned about that, I went and checked this area out, and it's like super cool. It's not your typical planted pines everywhere. Like it's not been, I guess, untouched, but there's a lot of rolling hardwoods in there, so it looks beautiful. It looks like turkey habitat, and there's some mixed pines here and there in it. And so going to last week on Monday, I went out early in the morning, got up early, went and listened just to try to pinpoint. And so this area I've killed a turkey in past years.
Okay.
I know they're there, but I went to go listen another spot and they wasn't hearing anything, so I decided I'm gonna just go walk on back there and go just check it out, see if they're there. And sure enough, there's two of them gobbling right in the heart of it, right
Nice.
there. And I was like, "Oh, here we go,
Yeah.
game on."
So
So,
this is like a week and some change before season?
but Monday, so 2 days
Oh,
before,
okay,
two
okay, cool.
days.
Okay.
So yeah, they're
Yeah,
there.
so that's good prime time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I was excited. I was ready for Tuesday to go on and get by, so I could get over there. So Wednesday, I set a plan. I know they're there. I know people know there's turkeys around this general area, so I set my alarm for 1:30 that morning.
Woo,
It was rough.
woo.
And get up and get out there about 2:45 or so. And surprisingly, I'd passed a few trucks on the way in, so they either slept there or got up before 1:30. I don't know.
Dang, that's wild.
That's just, yeah, some of the
Yeah,
public land adventures of
yeah.
opening days that people are excited.
Dedication.
Hmm.
I like it.
So I get out there, I'm trying to sleep or whatever, and can't sleep. I'm excited, and it gets to be finally it's time. I get ready, and get out to go, and like where I had heard turkeys from, I'm like up above this area, so I can kind
Okay.
of hear most of it. And so I figured I was gonna park there. My plan was to block the road in a sense. I wouldn't recommend it to everybody. Don't get yourself in trouble if somebody mess with your vehicle, whatever. But in this spot, it just the situation it made sense. So I get there real early, thinking I'm not gonna affect the turkeys, turn my lights off, driving up there. And about 5:45, 5:50, like right as it's about to start getting gray light and all get right. And I hear gravel popping and I look up the hill behind me and sure enough, here comes some headlights and then I hear a door slam and I'm like, oh God, here we go.
So you got your typical public land Facebook post going here.
Mhm.
You've put in the work, you've listened days ahead, you've got out there early, 1:30 alarm, and here comes a guy right at daylight to ruin everything.
Come hoop and holler.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, oh, oh,
Yeah. So
oh.
yeah, you can
Slams
hear
the truck door, all the
you
things.
hear. So I'm down below at this point, and I'm sitting there waiting for a few minutes, like expecting to hear him crank back up and go on his way. Well, that doesn't happen. So I'm like, oh man. So I go walking back up the hill, get over there, and we start talking. This older gentleman, and he's like, "Well, you're kind of blocking the road. I can't get around you." So like where I parked, you can there's a road that goes back into this area, or you can continue going straight, and there's another road that goes to the same area. And it's I like we went back and forth and trying to explain to him that like, man, if you go in there and I go in over here, the turkey gobbles between us, we're gonna be
Shooting
sitting
at each
there
other.
facing each other,
Yeah.
calling the same bird. Like it's just not gonna work out.
Okay, so you were basically trying to kind of put the message out there, not blocking the road to like prevent people from going and hunting in other spots. It's just really the way the roads wrap around back to each other. You're trying to like send a message of like, hey, if you come back here, you know, it is what it is. It's public land, but there's a potential safe or not a potential. There is a safety issue here.
Mhm.
If you come from one side, I come from another. We're shooting at each other, basically.
Exactly, and
Yeah,
that's what
that's
I
just
was trying to explain to him, but I could tell he
he's pretty
wanted to
dead
be
set.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so and he's talking in like a regular voice like me and you are, and I'm trying to whisper like,
y-
turkeys where they were goblins like 350, 400 yards,
dang.
so they're hearing everything that's going on.
You told him you got there at 2 a.m.?
I didn't tell him the time because I didn't wanna if you were coming back the next day, I didn't want him to try to beat me, I didn't wanna have to
Okay,
get up that
okay.
early again, but
Man, these public land tactics are tough.
it's a mind game, it
Yeah,
is. So, we go back and forth, and finally, I'm like, "Here, just give me your number, and I'll go in here. If I get lucky and kill one of these early, I'll text you, you can come on in and whatever." Well, I go on my way, it's starting to get light now, birds are chirping and all, and so I go slipping back down to where I was, and I never hear him crank his vehicle and leave, so I'm like, "Oh gosh." Well, yeah, he never did. I went back after the hunt and saw boot tracks going down the road, so whatever. He still went in there. Needless to say, opening day, didn't hear a peep, didn't see a turkey, nothing. All day long, I walked all over there, saw lots of signs scratching and tracks all over the roads, but nothing. So I'm a little bummed out because opening day in the past is it's the best day usually to go before all chaos breaks loose.
yeah,
So sitting there, talked to some friends about what I'm gonna do tomorrow. Like I know at some point those turkeys are gonna be in there and they're gobbling again, but I don't know if I need to go back in there or if that guy's gonna be in there again
right.
and show up at that. So I toy with it. I have the guy's number though, so next morning I get up a lot more reasonable, 3 a.m. Get out there, and I text him on the way, and he says he's not coming. So I'm like, great, perfect. It's gonna be a good day.
Yeah,
So I go and I go through the gate to get on the private, and I'm on the private side, and I'm stopping to kind of shut the gate. It's not locked or anything, but go to shut it, and I stall my vehicle out. It's manual, stall out all of a sudden, and I can't get it cranked back up. It's just clicking, no power. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting on the private land. Like, this is not good.
yeah. You're just trying to
3 in the
get through an
morning.
easement, and now you're gonna end up parking on it.
And I
Yeah,
was dead set. I was like, I'm just gonna leave this here. And I'll figure it out after the hunt, whatever.
right.
But ended up figuring out the connection had broke on my battery somehow.
Okay,
Jimmy rigged it, got on back there. Well, this time I parked a little bit farther away. I can only park so far because then I'll be sitting on private again. So I
okay.
park right on the edge of the public, blocking the road again. And I'm like sitting there doing my little morning devotional before going in. And here comes the gravel popping. I'm like, oh gosh. It's a popular spot, I guess.
Yeah,
Turned out to be he was a younger guy, super respectable. All he understood how things supposed to work. He went on his way,
yeah,
turned around. And so I go walking up to where I'd heard the turkeys Monday, and it's like the moon is so bright. It is,
yep,
and then clear skies and all. I'm like, is they're gonna do it today? And it starts to get light. There's owls going crazy back and forth. Dead silence. No turkeys. And I'm like, this is you got to be kidding me. And I sit there and sit there probably 45 minutes. First 45 minutes of light, no, not a peep. And so I decided I walk down and I go across this big opening, and because that's where I'd killed a turkey in the past, and the day prior I saw a lot of scratching in that on that ridge in there. So I was like, I'm just going to start over here today. So I walked past where I had heard the turkeys gobble Monday, and get over there, do some a little bit of calling, don't hear anything, and then finally like, all right, I'm gonna just get a little aggressive and call. Maybe something's around somewhere. Gotta be. I know they're here, but
Right.
so I get aggressive and finally I hear a gobble. He's like 300, 350 yards right where they were Monday. So I'd
Okay.
already walked past them and
Okay.
there's this big opening and it's like, oh God.
Yeah.
So I sit there and I call a few more times. He gobbles 6 or 8 times, but he hadn't budged. He's not moving. It's been maybe 30 minutes. So I go running down this ridge and I get on like a low spot and cross the opening and I get across and I'm almost to like I'm 150 yards, I'm thinking. And so I'm like, I'm just going to wait right here before I pop over this hill, make sure I don't blow him out. Well, finally he gobbles. He's like 100 yards. And so I belly crawl my way over the hill, get to a tree, and I'm like, all right, I'm in his bubble now. I'm going to call. He's going to gobble, run right here, kill him. Well, I get there, call crickets, nothing. And I sit there for an hour, as patient, still as I can be, nothing. Don't hear him, don't see him, nothing happens. So I end up, after that hour, I'm like, all right, I need to, I guess, try to move a little bit closer. Get, maybe, I don't know, he's got to be close.
Right.
But if I go straight, I'm going to be in a lot of open woods. So I can't go right at him. So I'm like, all right, I got to make a loop. And I make this huge loop, takes me an hour. And it's about I think it was 9:30 or so, and I got up to make the loop, and it took me an hour to get all the way around to the backside of where he had last gobbled.
Yeah. That's some
And the
commitment right there.
mhm, and you just gotta. I'm nervous, I don't ever want to screw him up, so
Right.
the long way safe.
Yep.
And it had gotten super windy that day.
Yeah.
I don't. It picked up like
Yeah, it was
hard
today.
winds,
Yep.
and so get around and I get set up. And I'm thinking I'm 200, 150 yards from where I last heard him. And I sit down and I get my little pot call and mouth call, and I'm like obnoxious, kind of long calling sequence back and forth. And because the wind has picked up, I'm
Yeah.
just trying to be hurt. Like surely he's here still, but I don't have, he could be long gone. It's been 2 hours since he last gobbled, so I don't have a clue. And I do that long sequence and don't hear anything, and I decide I was thinking I was gonna sit there about an hour and then maybe move or leave. It was needed to be somewhere after, so I sit there and it's been 30 minutes of just wind blowing, and nothing. And so I like, all right, well, no, I'm gonna move just a little bit closer, last 30 minutes, and then I'm gonna get out of here. And I go walking up this, it's like a short, steep hill, and there's an old logging road and these pines, but I'm right on the edge of where like two drainages kind of meet, and there's like a little saddle there. It's kind of where a lot is coming together.
Mhm.
But I go walking 30, 40 yards up above to get in the shadows, and it's quieter. I can move. And I get up there and I'm like, oh man, I've left my call down there at the tree I was just sitting
I
at.
did that the other day too.
So I go
Those pot
walking.
calls drive me nuts.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, "Listen, I don't use them."
I usually don't. I usually am just mouth call, but
Yeah.
just switching it up this
Yeah.
year.
Same for me.
Mhm. And so I go walking back down there, grab my call, go walking back up the hill, and as soon as I get to the top of the hill, I hear a crow fly over, and I stop, and he gobbles, and he's 80 yards right
Nice.
where I was just set up for him. I had
Oh, man. You were like, where you just went and got the call and now you're away from it?
uh-huh.
Dang.
And I was so when he gobbled, I'm like, "Oh my, how did he not just
Right.
see me walking back and forth? He should have seen me. Somehow he didn't. I don't know. He didn't see me." So and I had like limbs I had broke and made me a little blind and all. It was perfect little spot where I
Dang.
was. And he gobbles and I just sit down first tree next to me and I'm like, it's terrible. It's a little bitty tree
Yeah.
in the wide open kind of. But I'm on the top of this hill and the old logging road is like at my back,
Okay.
touching my butt basically. And so I sit down and I call to him, no response. So I guess in hindsight, he was kind of just giving me a courtesy gobble, like he was in the area, he'd heard me and let me know, all right, I'm here.
Mhm.
Where you at? But I call to him, he doesn't respond. And maybe 2 or 3 minutes go by, and I start hearing a hen clucking and yelping maybe 50, 60 yards to my right, like, about dead level with me,
Mhm.
and I call at her, and she calls, and we go back and forth, it seems like, and then it had been 2 or 3 minutes, and I start hearing footsteps right where she was. I'm like, "Oh, she's she was either looking for somebody or she's mad that I'm here or something.
Right,
She's gotten here quick." And it's like coming on a steady pace footsteps. So I'm just frozen,
right.
not even trying to look. Don't She's irrelevant, just don't spook her. Well, it starts getting closer and I'm like, something doesn't sound right about
Yeah.
this. And then it keeps on coming and it gets like 5 feet, like directly behind me. And I'm like, that is not a hen. This is way too loud. That was way too steady, and then I hear over my opposite ear somebody whisper in my ear, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to mess you up." And I don't know this dude from Adam or nothing. I'm locked in like
Right,
this, haven't budged. I'm sure he was like, "Oh god."
right.
And I have my face mask on, nothing, and I turn around at the guy and is loud and stern and like almost an aggressive whisper. I was like, "Sit down."
Yeah,
And I saw his face just turn ghost white, and he plops right down in the middle of the logging
yeah.
road,
You're at
wide
the point
open.
you're several hours into this battle.
Uh-huh.
You're like, "Don't screw it up for
Yeah,
me."
this is at, like,
Yeah,
11 or so. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm like, "Just sit down." I don't And he's got a loaded gun sitting behind me,
Yeah.
whatever. But as soon as I tell him to sit down, I hear footsteps, and I'm like, "Oh, here he comes." And no, it's a little dinky old 6 point
No.
coming. Like,
It's
so
a
much
deer.
is happening right now. I'm
Nice.
overstimulated.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and here he comes. He's just feeding along, moseying, and it feels like he's there maybe 10 minutes right in front of us, 20 yards at the base of the hill. Well, eventually, I guess he gets our so he's just the dude's sitting behind me, I haven't said anything else to him except sit down, and I turned, and it's been maybe 10 minutes. And finally, the deer, I guess, smelled us. He kind of bounds off, thankfully,
Mhm.
didn't blow. And
Yeah.
as he bounds off, I just made a few little clucks and little short, quiet yelp to hopefully ease the gobbler if he's over there and saw the deer spook. Well, then after that, I turn around to the guy and I said, "Did you hear the gobble?" And he says, "No." And he said, "I guess I'll just drop behind you a little bit and I'll call for you." And I was like, "Okay." And I turned back around and that's all that's exchanged. Well, he does, and he's a pretty good caller. He
That's
sounded
cool.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it worked out. And so 30 minutes go by of him calling a little bit, and then I'll call. It's kind of like we're two hens up
Yeah.
there communicating. And like it sounds great, but we hadn't heard a peep from the gobbler. And I'm thinking in my head, no, he's between this guy walking up, the deer running off, like he's gone. He's not coming. But whatever, I'm gonna sit here for a little bit longer because he was close, 80 yards. Well, I'm starting to get real anxious at this point because of everything that's just happened, and I want to go talk to this guy and like figure out what he's doing and get him out of here and try to make another play. And like I'm looking at my watch, I'm minutes from standing up and going to talk to him. Well, like, as soon as I start having that thought, it's like a here's the long beard. He just materialized, spawned right there. He's like 40 yards he's not strutting or anything, but he's just on a steady walk
Mhm.
coming right to me on a beeline. Well, so I immediately clicked my safety off and he's got like there's some brush between us, but he's coming right to directly in front of me with there's a little opening there. And sure enough, he gets to that opening and I cluck or whatever. He goes to looking around, yeah, and
It's my favorite moment.
bust him right there. And so I go running down the hill, go grab him. I'm still like in disbelief. Like that did not just work. There's no way. And so here comes old buddy walking down the hill now. And it's like, hey man, I'm Shane. Like
Yeah.
just the craziest. And so I start telling my side of the story and he gives me his. And I had been thinking sitting there that, oh, well, he probably parked right behind me and walked in here thinking he's not gonna run into me and he comes direct. But no, he had come in from a little bit of a sketchy way, I would guess, but the longest way that you could get to this and stay on public land.
Yeah.
And he had been walking, he said, since like 9 o'clock that morning or something, like
Yeah.
been walking all day to get back to this area. And he said that he's never heard me call, he never heard the gobble, none of it. And I was like, in my mind, I thought for sure he heard the gobble and then heard me, thought I was a
Right.
hen, and that's why. But it did at the same time. It didn't make sense because why would he have been walking right at the hen that he just heard?
Right.
So it was all just completely misunderstanding on his. It wasn't like he did anything wrong. It was all how it was supposed to be. But he didn't hear any of it, and we start celebrating and all, and I'm just like, this is the most wild thing. Everything that should have gone wrong, like, the turkey should not have come here, but he ended up right here, ended up making good friends with the guy. He was super nice, super respectable. He was a younger dude, not the same one from early in the morning that he drove up, different guy, and ended up, like, basically making a friend out of it, and we walked back to the he got pictures for me. I haven't had somebody been able to take pictures of something I killed in a long time, I'm usually by myself, so
Yeah.
he was able to take pictures. We walked back to my vehicle, and I drive him all the way back around to
Oh,
where
that's
he
cool. Yeah.
was, and it was a special day.
Yeah, that's really cool. Man, in the most unexpected way, God moves sometimes,
Mhm.
and yeah, it's just amazing how God gave you the turkey there,
Yeah.
but how it worked with the teamwork. And it takes a lot of humility on both of you. You could have easily stood up, started arguing.
Mhm.
I mean, you hear all these crazy stories on public land. I've been cussed out by a guy because I was already parked at a gate and was out of my truck and walking, and he comes flying up like, "Hey, where you going?" I'm like, I'm going out here to hunt because everywhere I've been today, everybody's man driving." He's like, "Well, those effing guys, this is my only effing spot. I've got a blind and a camera out here, and I'm going out there. You're not going out there." I'm like, "Okay, no worries. Go
Mhm.
ahead.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, so I've had mostly positive exchanges
Big
on public land, but you
same
hear,
here.
Facebook, nobody's posting a lot of the positive experiences. They're
No.
posting a lot of the negative ones.
I haven't had hardly any negative, I mean, some
Yeah.
little minor, but
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Most of the people are great people doing the same thing you're
That's right.
doing.
Yeah, out of all of my public land experience on the deer side and, uh, you know, weeks on public land out of state, that's the only negative instance I've had. It stuck with me, but it's the only
Mhm.
negative one that I had. I had an incredible one, the venison cartel,
Okay.
episode where, the guys, all the Hispanic guys, were out there hunting, and I ended up hunting with them and killing a nice buck off their man driving. That was really wild. And then they invite me back to their shop, and we cook up all the deer and have an incredible, time. It was really cool.
Mhm.
So you never know, like, the long lasting friendships that can happen through hunting, but much less on public land. Like, those guys came down and they hog hunted with us, came from Ohio down to Alabama. This guy, you told me, off, podcast here, that you invited him to our Revive meeting this week. And
Yeah, he sounded
it,
fired up.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just so cool. Like, you just never know how God's going to work and how he's going to move in your life. And, like, what that taught you, at the
Mhm.
same time, is you got blessed by it, and it was a positive experience, but also, like, like, okay, like, so, like, what do you feel like God was showing you there?
Well, I mean, it kinda came from, like, the day before and the not as great interaction with somebody, and it's kinda like I was kinda, frustrated, like, "Man, these public land, these people, I'm about over this. I can't." Yeah, and then to turn around and the very next day, I have the nice guy in the morning that everything good, and then this guy that it just all seemed way too orchestrated, the timing of how everything happened, that, like, there was a plan for that, I felt like, and yeah, I think it was just kinda God there. I feel like I don't know maybe what the reason is yet, but I feel like it was definitely a reason that we met and that happened, and so just figured I was gonna invite him to Revive and not just let it be "Oh, well, this was cool, it happened, never talk to him again," you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, man, that's cool. I'm glad you took the had the courage to invite him and have that conversation. It's really cool. And